Mr. President, President Trump has been in office now for more than 9 months. For the entire time, Senate Democrats have been trying to obstruct him from doing the very job that he was elected by the American people to do. The President has laid out his agenda to create jobs, to grow the economy, and to help hardworking American taxpayers. Yet Democrats will do anything they can to stop the President from putting his team in place to accomplish these goals. They've tried to stop the President's legislative agenda because they know that his policies, President Trump's policies, will actually work. When Republican policies become law, Democrats know that people will see how successful these Republican policies are. Now, I think Democrats are worried that they may never win another election again once we get these policies into place. That's why we've seen record amounts of delay and obstruction by the Democrats in the Senate. They've done it on legislation, and they've even blocked the President from filling some of the most basic jobs within his administration. And you know, Mr. President, it started on day one. Normally on Inauguration Day, the President gets a substantial number of people confirmed to his cabinet. The idea is to let the President get his team in place that they can hit the ground running. President Obama had 6 on Inauguration Day. President Bush, 7 on Inauguration Day in terms of secretaries confirmed. And these confirmations were by voice vote. That wasn't the case with President Trump. Just 2 with roll call votes on Inauguration Day. Republicans in the Senate didn't do anything to try to block the cabinet secretaries for President Obama. We understood that it's best to give a new president a chance for all of us to work together when we can. So George W. Bush, 7. That's how it usually works, but not anymore. No, not with this group of Democrats in the Senate. They really were never interested in giving President Trump a chance. They really don't seem to be interested in working together. Last January, President Trump got 2 people confirmed to the cabinet on Inauguration Day, the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security, the only 2 jobs that the Democrats allowed the President to fill. In President Trump's first 9 months in office, Democrats have continued to block the way. They've allowed just 185 of his nominees to take their jobs. That's how ridiculous the Democrats have been in trying to keep President Trump from putting his team in place. By the same time, this far into the administration, President Obama had 364 nominees in place. The Democrats have blocked judges. They blocked cabinet secretaries and other high-ranking officials. Now, it's interesting, Mr. President, because you've seen this. Many of these nominees even had Democrat support, and they're not controversial at all. But Democrats are doing everything they can to slow down the process. So President Obama's time, first 9 months, 364. So President Obama has gotten 2 for every 1 that President Trump has gotten confirmed. Today, there are 81 of President Trump's nominees who have come through the committees, and another some number today. That's 81 people nominated by the President for positions in the government that are just waiting right now on the Senate floor for a vote. There are people who got through the nomination. These are people, many of them, who got through the nomination process in June, who are still waiting and being blocked by Democrats in the Senate. It's outrageous. Do Democrats really think these aren't important jobs? They don't need people in those jobs to do the important work that they've been assigned to do? I believe we should confirm as many of these as possible today. There are 13 judges waiting confirmation, 8 U.S. attorneys waiting, including the U.S. Attorney from my home state of Wyoming. These are important jobs, Mr. President. We all understand that there's a process that we need to go through to fill these people, make sure they're vetted, make sure they're the right people for the job. All of these people have followed the process. They've done everything they've been asked to do. They filled out the paperwork, the disclosures, gone through the committee. Now it's time for the Senate to get its work done. So I'd say let's do it today. Interestingly enough, in August, Democrats finally allowed a significant number of people to be confirmed. More than 60 people were confirmed by voice vote on one day. That's the kind of thing that used to be very routine in the Senate, letting a large number of non-controversial nominees to be approved all at once. It is now time to do it again. There's a significant backlog. I want to get these folks confirmed now. It's time to clear the deck and let these people who have been nominated, vetted, gone through the committees, been approved, time to get them to work. We need to move these nominations because we've got more nominations on the way. We're going to have to deal with nominations of 2 cabinet secretaries that are currently vacant. President Trump has nominated to be Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen. It's an important job, very qualified for it. The Democrats plan to vote her confirmation to be Secretary of Homeland Security. The Democrats plan to obstruct this qualified woman from doing the important jobs of which she's been nominated by President Trump. The President deserves to have his team in place. The Senate has an obligation to get that work done, and the Department of Homeland Security deserves to have a secretary in place to keep us safe. So that's how it's worked in the past, that's how it should be working now. But these are people who manage major departments of government. They manage many career workers, because we know that the Washington bureaucracy has grown tremendously over the years. It's very difficult to eliminate people who aren't doing their jobs properly. We've seen it in scandals over the years. Remember the Gold King mine disaster? President Obama's EPA, the group that's supposed to protect the environment, actually dumped 3 million gallons of toxic wastewater in a river in Colorado. Remember the scandals involving bureaucrats at the Department of Veterans Affairs and the IRS and the General Services Administration during the Obama administration? We need presidential appointees in place overseeing these federal workers to make sure that the government of the people is accountable to the American people. This Senate needs to be involved in providing oversight through our power of advice and consent. Democrats don't want that to happen. They have been keeping the Senate from providing that oversight and making sure that, dragging out the process, making sure that the bureaucrats, who they seem to have more faith in, that the bureaucrats are accountable to the American people rather than those that the American people voted for on Election Day. Mr. President, these are important jobs. We have qualified people ready to do their work. Democrats have delayed for 9 months. It is time to break that logjam today. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.